Hi, you can row too. My name is Conor Neville, and this is my certification video assessment. Alright, let's get started. So, as you can see, I have the erg disassembled here. So, this is one of the recommended ways for storing your erg. If you don't want to take it apart, you can just leave it together, put it upright in this position, and make sure to have it locked to a wall or something like that. So, to put it together, I'm just going to take the slide, move it back a little, place that down. Watch out for this slide because it will fall and hit you. So I'm just going to bring the flywheel down. And so we're going to put this together by, there's a little groove right here on the underneath of the slide. You're going to connect that with the steel bar that is between the foot plates. So you just make sure those push together, slide down, pop this little plastic piece into place, and your erg is all set up and ready to go. So there are several different parts to the erg. I'll identify them now. Up here we have the performance monitor, PM for short. This is where you can set up new workouts, look at the previous workouts you've done, play games, change your drag factor, several other things. Up here we have the main flywheel, and on the side this is the damper settings. Goes from 1 to 10 depending on where the damper is placed. And the damper doesn't change how tough the workout is, just how much resistance you feel by how much air is actually let into the flywheel. So we're going to leave that at 1 for now. 1 is where you should always return your damper to when you're done with a workout, if the erg is a public one or a private one, just so the next person doesn't get on their erg and accidentally starts erging at 10. So next we have the handle and the handle hook. Now, when you're actually doing a workout, you always leave the handle on the handle hook so it's easier to reach while your feet are still strapped in. However, when you're finished with your workout, always be sure to return it up to the cage. And then lastly, we have the flex foot plate. This is where your feet go, obviously, and it's adjustable depending on shoe size. So typically you want to have the straps right over the furthermost shoelace of your shoe. So you want to have the straps right here, right over the arch of your foot. Alrighty, so now I'm going to demonstrate the 4 aspects of the slide. So I'm just going to strap in here, making sure that my straps are right on top of the arches of my feet. Grab the handle, bring it down to the hook. So I'm first going to demonstrate the 4 parts of the stroke without the handle, just to make it a little bit easier to see. So we end at what's called the finish. This is the back end of the stroke. This is what the last part will look like. Going from the finish up is called the recovery. Typically here you're a lot more relaxed, gaining your breath back, preparing for the next stroke. You come up here, and right at the top of the recovery, at the top of the slide, is the catch. Here is where your blades, if you're rowing, would drop into the water, and you begin to push back on the drive. This is where all your weight goes through your legs, power through the legs, up through the torso, into the arms, and back to the finish again. So the finish, recovery, catch, drive, finish. And that is one completed stroke. So now we're going to start with a drill called the pick drill. This is a drill I've been doing for the past 6 years of my rowing career. So you're going to take the handle, bring it to the finish, and you're going to start with arms only rowing. So here, the back's not moving, the legs are staying straight, and only the arms are moving at all. From here we're going to add in the back, so it'll be arms then back, making sure that the arms are completely out before the back becomes flexed at all. And row. The key to this is making sure that you're nice and stretched so you can get as far forward a lean as possible. You're going to feel this pull right in the back of your hamstrings when you come up. You want to make sure you get as much distance as possible without sacrificing form, because when you're doing this and when you put in the back, you can be tempted to roll your shoulders and get as much far forward as you can. You don't want to do that. You want to keep your back straight and taut at all times. And make sure you don't sacrifice that form. Next, we're going to do quarter slide rowing. So the arms come out, we have the back, and then the slide is going to come just a quarter of the way up. So the seat's only going to come a quarter way up the slide. This is barely a break in the knees. Bit of arms, back, quarter slide, row. Next, we're going to switch it to half slide rowing. It's a little bit farther than quarter slide. We're going to come up halfway up the slide. If you ever need to, it's okay to just simply stop rowing and take a look at where your seat is in comparison to the slide. So if I start about here and can end up here, right about here, it's half slide for me. Typically your knees will be at a 90-degree angle. That's another great way to know exactly where half slide is for you. So arms, back, half slide row. Remembering to keep that good form for the whole time. Next we're going to move up to 3/4 slide. Again, it's just a little bit farther than half slide. Typically here you're 3/4 up, so you're not at full compression yet, which is full slide. However, your knees should be just about even with your heels. So you're not up at full slide yet, but you're just a little bit in front of it. Arms, back, 3/4, and finish. And lastly, we're going to go up to full slide, full compression for 2, 1, and 2 full slide. Getting all the way up, far up at the catch, coming close to almost hitting the cage depending on your height. And that's the pick drill. So again, to review, we have just arms, then add in the back, then 1/4 slide, half, 3/4, and full. This is a great drill because it really allows any instructor to identify any key parts that whoever is rowing might be getting wrong, and also to focus on them minutely instead of having to go through the entirety of one stroke and pick out something specifically that's wrong with the recovery. You can just have the person sitting there going up to half slide and say their problem's at half slide. You can identify it right there. You don't need to go through the entirety of the stroke in order to identify a problem. So as some of the more perceptive may have noticed, I changed my shirt due to a slight wardrobe malfunction, but I want to take this time just to say a little bit about proper dress on the erg. So the number one thing that anyone who's attempting to erg should always remember is tight-fitting pants. Now, for those who are rowers like me, spandex or unisuits, such as like the one I'm wearing, are typically the go-to piece of clothing. But for regular people, if you just take basketball shorts and even just take a bungee cord or a rubber band and make sure that the legs are not baggy and a bit on the tighter side, that'll be good. This is because if you're rowing, especially in, especially in a boat, any baggy pants will get caught in the wheels and will either take your pants off or just get you right out of your seat. And it's something that nobody ever wants to be rowing with. It'll also ruin your pants, so that's something that nobody really wants. In terms of torso wear, anything that's really good at absorbing sweat, dry fit stuff, or just anything you don't mind smelling disgusting is a good choice. And then for some like me who have, or people who have longer hair, a hat or headband is always a good choice because it helps keep the sweat out of your eyes. And then obviously sneakers and socks are a must-have. The only time that you might not be rowing with sneakers is if some coach or instructor asks you to take your shoes off, which has happened before to me. So typically sneakers, tight-fitting pants, sweat-resistant shirt, and then a headband or hat if you so choose. That's really what you should always be wearing on the erg. And of course, hydration is completely necessary. People don't realize just how much they sweat on an erg when they're actually doing work, and it dehydrates you very quickly, so it's always key to have a water bottle on hand. Typically I just use a reusable one, and that works well. You can take it during your breaks on your erg, or a little bit before, and then after you're done with your piece. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go over the 4 different aspects of the stroke and give a little commentary on how to properly do each part. So again, I'm just going to strap myself in, making sure my straps are nice and tight and positioned properly. Alrighty, so we're going to start with the catch. So with the catch, you always want to come up here and to the front of the slide. You always want to make sure your back is as straight as can be. Shoulders aren't leaning forward, back isn't rounded, but it's nice and straight. Straight is strong, good way to remember it. You typically want your shins to be perpendicular with the monorail, so that you're not way forward, you're not way back. This makes sure that you're not too far back, only a 3/4 slide, or that you're not over compressed. Because if you're over compressed, you're not going to be able to get as much power, and if you're under compressed, you're also not going to be able to get as much power, simply from your ability and your placement in the stroke. So when you're at the catch, you want everything to flow together. You don't want to shoot the slide first, you don't want to open up with the back. These can all lead to injury. So what you want to do is start pushing with the legs, start pushing, and then it'll lead you into the drive. It's a different part, so I'll get to that in a sec. But again, just to recap, with the catch, back straight and strong, shins perpendicular, and everything not leaning forward too much, not leaning back too much. So now we're going to start the drive. So as I said, you're going to start pushing with the legs. Legs are the biggest muscles in the body, so you're going to want to use those as much as possible. So you're going to start pushing with the legs, then add in the back, and then once you're done with those, bring in the arms. So you want to make sure that you're not shooting your butt or opening up with the back too early. You want everything to combine together, nice and smooth. This takes a lot of practice, a lot of strokes to get this right, to get everything finishing together. But once you do, everything will be a well-oiled machine, and we'll all be working together. So now we have the finish. With the finish, you want to make sure that your back is about at 11 o'clock. If you can imagine, you're sitting right next to a big clock, and you have 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, at 11 o'clock. You want to make sure that your back is at 11, because if you don't sit up, if you stay at 12, you're not getting as much power from the lean back and getting as much out of the stroke as possible. If you're too much, this is going to keep your core over-engaged. Hi, Cody. How did you get out of here, buddy? You want to make sure that if you lean too far back, this is going to cause you to expend unnecessary energy in order to bring yourself back up into a sitting position. And then also, if you lean too far back, there's a chance that you might just simply fall. So you want to keep your back at about 11, nice and straight as well. Shoulders back, not forward, not rounded. Sitting up nice and strong, head up. What a lot of people do sometimes at the finish, they'll finish their stroke and look down. This is not good, because if you look down, your body goes down and everything falls forward into the boat. So you want to keep your chin up, eyes forward, looking straight ahead. Typically you want your arms and your hands on the handle. You do want your thumb to be gripping underneath the handle, because some people, if they grip over the handle like this, then if they're going back too hard and they hit their chest enough, the hands fly off, the handle flies up, and nobody wants that. So you want to make sure you have a nice grip on the handle, but don't over grip it. Typically, you want it comfortable enough that you're not squeezing, because if you start squeezing, also you go at the risk of developing tendonitis, which is something I had that happened to me. So a nice loose grip, but firm and comfortable. You want to make sure that you're not breaking the wrist. So typically when you finish, some people break their wrists like this and come down like that. That's not good. You want to make sure that your wrist and your forearm and your hand form a nice flat plane. So this way everything is smooth all the way from the handle into your shoulders and the rest of your body. So finishing again, back straight and strong, eyes up, not leaning forward. And from here, this is where we begin the recovery. So typically, once you finish, you don't want to slam the handle into you. You don't want to slam it into your chest and leave yourself with a black and blue. You want to stop your stroke about an inch from your chest, and that's where you start your recovery. Typically, if you're actually rowing in a boat, this is where you would go use your down and away. You would drop your hands, lift the blades out of the water, and begin your recovery. You don't need to do that on an erg, so you can either kind of practice your down and away or not. It's preference. Also depends on whether or not you have that muscle memory of going down and away, which I do. So when you watch me erg, you'll usually see me doing a nice down and away unless I'm purposely thinking about it and thinking in and out. So stop about an inch from your chest, relax, start going down, a little down and away, drop your hands, and here you want to make sure your hands come out all the way first. It's just like doing the pick drill. You want your hands out all the way, then the back, then the knees come up, and you're at the catch again. Typically, one very big problem I see with people is the knees start to come up right at the finish. So you see people doing this, and the hands have to come over the knees. This is just bad form. You want to steer clear from it as much as possible, because not only is it typically just bad form, you're also expending energy bringing the handle up and down. And straightest way between two places is a straight line. So you want to keep this handle on as much of a plane as possible, really focusing on that, bringing it in and right out again. A little down and away doesn't really matter. Typically, it's if people are going up and down on the way and the rest of the recovery. So handles in, about finishing about an inch from your body, bring it back out, arms, back, and legs all together, nice and relaxed, back staying straight, strong, head up, looking forward, and just making sure that you get as much breath on your recovery as possible. It's the time where you're not working, so you really want to get as much energy out of it as you possibly can. Alright, now for the instructional technique and cueing errors. I'm going to be using my lovely girlfriend Meg as a demonstratee, so if you want to come out here and strap in properly. Perfect. Alright, so why don't you just start rowing for me? Alright, good. So one mistake Meg's rowing here. Why don't you just keep rowing actually, and just wait to finish. Right. So one mistake she's doing here is a common one, which is putting the knees up first on the recovery and then following with the arms over them. So one way we're gonna fix that is by doing the pick drill. So what I want you to do first is arms out, and now bring the back forward, and now bring up the legs. Perfect. Alright, we're gonna do that again. So back to the finish. Alrighty, so again, arms and back and legs. Perfect. Alright, why don't you row continuously for me? That's okay. That's okay. That's what we're here for. There we go. Much better. So now her knees aren't moving until her hands are completely past that. That's typically what you want. You want your knees to come up right after the handle has passed over them. So that way you're still being efficient and quick in the recovery, but you're not sacrificing form for it. Alrighty, so now she's going to do another common error, which is employing the arms too early on the catch. Perfect. One more. Alrighty, great. So go up to the catch. Way up to the catch. Alrighty, so now what I want you to do first, keep this position. So keep the back straight, keep the arms flexed. And I want you to just use your legs. Perfect. Stop. So what we're going to do, this is called legs only rowing. So what you're going to do is keep the back flexed and keep the arms out, and you're only going to go back and forth with your legs. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, perfect. Why don't you try that for me? Like that? Perfect, yep. Keep going. Continue. You want to make sure you're keeping the back all the way flexed, as far forward, keeping that angle. Perfect. All right, now what I want you to do is add in the back. So you have legs, and then finish with the back. Perfect. Make sure when you're coming back, you bring your back forward first, and then pull up the legs. There you go, perfect. So legs and back, back and legs. All right, now we're going to add in the arms. So legs, back, and finish with the arms on this one. Good, and let's remember to have the arms come all the way forward first before we bring the legs up. And so now we've fixed the issue at the front. She's starting with the legs, getting up to the catch, driving with the legs, opening up the back, and then finishing with the arms. Alrighty, so now I'm going to demonstrate how to properly set up a workout. So if you hit the menu back button, it will bring up this screen. There are several options here. We have just row, select workout, games, information, and more options. So first we're going to just set up a little bit of work and a little bit of rest, a minute and a minute. So what we're going to do is hit select workout, new workout, and then we're going to do intervals time. So here we can have the set time. This is the time, the amount of time that we're going to be working. So this can be adjusted up, can be adjusted down. And so once we have that set, we'll go just scroll over using the upper arrow here. We're going to scroll over to set rest time. And again, we're just going to change this to 1 minute. So now once we have that set up, we're just going to come here, hit the check mark. And here is our workout for 1 minute on and 1 minute off. Once we have our workout set up, there are several things that we can do to change the monitor. So first we can change the display. Now this will show us, this is a work chart, and it will show you a little graph of exactly how much work is being done at each section of the stroke. So if you take a stroke, it will typically show you a little bar graph that shows you just exactly how much work is being done where. This is the pace boat option. So if you're doing a test and you would like to hit a certain time, for some people it helps, visually saying exactly how fast they have to go. So you can set the pace boat for a certain time. Say you're doing a 2K and you'd like to hit better than an 8-minute 2K, you could set the pace boat for 8 minutes, and then so long as your boat finishes in front, you'll beat that time. This is a wattage graph, so very similar to the power graph in showing you how much wattage is being produced. And then this is a large font graph, so you have the time, you have your average split, your meters rowed, and your strokes per minute. And then this is my personal favorite. You have a bit more information on the screen. Still, you have your time, your split, your meters, and your SPM. But then you also have your average for each 500, what interval you're on, your projected finish. Then you can also change the units here to show you your average up here instead of your meters. You can show your wattage and your average watts, how many calories you've burned, or just again back to your split. So now I'm also going to show you how to properly adjust drag factor. So what we're going to do is come down to more options, display drag factor, and then for that, if you just slide back on. For that, what you do is you're just going to pull the handle several times, take a few strokes, and this will show you exactly what your drag factor is, and it can be adjusted using the damper. Lastly, we're going to take a look at our memory. So again, we're going to do more options, memory. And now here, this allows you to look at all of the pieces that you've done on this monitor. So you can scroll up and down using the arrows on the side. And once you actually are finished, you can have which one you want to look at. You hit the little magnifying glass, and it will show you details of that workout, including strokes per minute, how fast each interval was, how many meters you went, and your split. Alrighty, so I'm going to start and set up a workout for a minute of rest, a minute of work and a minute of rest here. But first things first, I'm going to set my drag factor. Now, typically, drag will depend largely on what kind of workout you're doing or what your coach or instructor tells you to put the drag factor at. Typically, I like to row at a 110 to 115 drag factor. So as you can see, I'm just slightly adjusting the drag, seeing what I've changed it to. And going from there. So we're at 115. Now we can set up our workout, new workout, intervals time, and we're good to go. Alright, so up at the catch, it's ready, attention, and rope. So during that minute of work, I was at 26 to 28 strokes per minute. I rode it at a 155 average per 500 meter split. So there's several ways to adjust exactly how much effort you're putting in. One is the strokes per minute, and another is a split. So the more strokes per minute you have, obviously the faster you're physically going up and down the slide. And with the split, that's exactly how long it will take you to cover 500 meters. So the pace I was going, it would have taken me just a little under 2 minutes to cover 500 meters. As it was, I did 260. So a lot of people think that you can adjust exactly how much work you do by adjusting the damper. That's not true. The damper only determines how it feels because it shows how much air is being let into the flywheel and therefore how much resistance you feel. But it's really just how intense you yourself are pulling on the handle, how much effort you're putting in yourself. Alright, so now we're done with our class, but we're not quite finished with the erg itself. So you just want to go ahead and unstrap yourself. First thing you do, take the handle, put it back up to the cage. You want to make sure that the damper goes back down to 1. Clear whatever workout you were doing. And the next part, very important part, is cleaning your erg. So you want to take a wipe. Clorox disinfecting wipes are good, but if you have Windex and paper towels, that also works. So you just want to go ahead and wipe down the monitor, get that nice and clean. Then we're going to push the monitor all the way back into the down position. That's where it should always be stored. You want to make sure you clean your handle very well, clean the seat very well, and then you want to clean the monorail itself. Typically, especially if you're using a public erg or an erg that's in a class setting, it's not going to be cleaned as much as it should. So first, you have to make sure that the parts that carry bacteria the most, such as the seat and the handle, are thoroughly wiped down and clean. And then you want to make sure that the monorail, which gathers a lot of dust, a lot of grease, gets wiped down very well so it looks very nice and clean. So as you can see, that's a lot of dirt right there, and that's just from the monorail itself. Okay. Zoom in on that. So it's quite a lot of dirt that these things can collect and get very, very messy. Now, a little extra cleaning advice, if you want, there's a way. You can just unscrew a few of these screws that are around the flywheel. This cover pops off, and you can take a cloth just like this and wipe in between the blades of the fan. I just recently did that, so mine's nice and clean, so I'm not going to go through that right now. But it's typically recommended that you can do that every 6 to 9 months, depending on how much you use your erg and depending on how clean you want to keep your erg. So, lastly, what we're going to do is just break this down. So, again, we're just going to lift up this plastic flap here, pull up on the monorail so that the monorail and the front end separate. Stand up the monorail, push up the front end, combine them, and you have your erg all set up and ready to go for next time. Again, my name is Conor Neville. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe learned a little bit more. Thanks very much for watching.